Welcome back to the Fire Drill. Hey, before I get into it, Tuesday morning, the 4th episode of The Grind, sponsored by our friends at Golf Tech. This is about Joe Hooks, plays on the PGA Tour, from Detroit. Great story, great dude. So that will drop on my Twitter account, on YouTube, Fire Pit Collective. Go there, subscribe, like, comment, do all those things, please, so I can stop saying that, because I hate asking people to do things, but it's needed. Please go there, do that. This week on the Fire Drill, we tried something new. We all wanted to watch the Super Bowl. So we watched the last 35, 40 minutes of the Waste Management Open, kind of live on TV. We talked about Tiger and whether we thought he'd make the cut. We talked about how Michael knows what year he was married. And it's an amazing ending to the podcast. So stay tuned for that. We talked about a couple of awesome dudes that gave me some tickets to give away to families. And it was a lot of fun, as it always is. So thanks to Golf Tech for supporting the grind. Thanks to Jake, our producer, who's behind the screen. Without further ado, here's the three of us talking golf.
Hello, this is Alan Shipnuck back for another Fire Drill podcast, joined as always by Michael Bamberger in Philly and Ryan French in the heartland of America. So the Phoenix Open, there's a debate every year about, is it good for golf? Has it gone too far? Is it too much? It was another rousing week in the desert. Ryan, you appear to have some thoughts on this. Jump in.
I think it's perfect once a year. And anyone who says differently, I just like, they're probably like the anti-hoodie crowd. Listen, more than once a year, totally agree. It would be way too much. Okay. It's ridiculous. It's like people running, dressed up. There was a streaker, pretty good streaker. Good work by that guy, by the way. Made it all the way to 16, all the way to 17, jumped in the pond, got onto the letters of the Waste Management, and they couldn't do anything about it. More than once a year, ridiculous. Once a year, perfect. Good for golf. I think 98% of the players, maybe a little less, maybe 90% of the players love it once a year again. And I think it's great for
80%.
golf. Okay, maybe 80. Maybe 10, 80 like it, 10 tolerate it, and 10 hate it. Is that fair?
I think that's okay. Michael, you're the voice of the establishment at times, but also a cool guy. So I know you're probably conflicted here. Let just give it to us straight. No judgment.
Once a year, I absolutely think it's great. And the only people who don't like it are the hoodie crowd. Well, someone has already said that. I know, I really am with Ryan here. I have to say it did take me years for it to grow on me. But now I'm sort of getting it. Just Super Bowl week and all the rest, and it's different. And as long as nobody's getting hurt and people are having a good time, I'm totally in favor of it. But if you really truly, if another tournament tried to do it, I think it wouldn't work for the other tournament, and it would diminish the greatness of, not the greatness, but the fun of this one. So I think right now they've got it just where they want it.
When you say nobody getting hurt, does that include alcohol poisoning or other bad decisions?
No. Hangover is a hangover, but falling off the top, like you dropped your cell phone that year at the Ryder Cup.
Oh man,
from the top of a bleacher, that you don't want. But no, as long as no one really
Alan,
gets
your view on it?
I like it. I mean, it's great fun. I was on the grounds just for a quick cameo because, as some of our listeners know, we were out in Phoenix for as guests of Golf Tech, and so I went out to the course on Tuesday, and I hadn't actually been to the Phoenix Open in probably a decade. I used to go a lot, and I sort of forgot, even on a Tuesday practice round, like the crowds they had on Tuesday, any other tournament on tour would have killed for those as Sunday crowds. It's just an unbelievable crush of humanity, and also how efficiently the whole thing operates. I mean, they've got it down to a science. With the parking, I've never seen so many porta potties in my life. There's tons of people picking up trash. There's the infrastructure is so dialed like that. I don't think any other place could pull this off, including Augusta National. I mean, it's just the way they run the whole thing. The Thunderbirds and others is deeply impressive.
And I don't know if this is true, but a couple people responded on Twitter about it. Is that they've never officially sold out. They usually just keep selling tickets, and it got so popular this year that they shut off ticket sales on Saturday and Sunday. It's like it is. Waste Management has done it right, and honestly, the biggest conversation is like I don't even know if they really needed it to be an elevated event, because I think the tournament is one of the few times the tournament is the show, right? Like no one really cares who's on 16. Like everybody was going absolutely apeshit last year when Sam Ryder made a hole-in-one. It really doesn't have to be. It's not about the players. The show is the show. 80% of the fans on the 16th hole don't even know who any of the players are anyway. So
yeah,
it doesn't really matter.
That's a good point. I will say before we move on from the question, is it fun or not fun, or good for golf or not good? I do in this era of social media and everything else, there is a fatigue factor. I think by like Thursday or Friday, I'm already a little over it because it's just from Monday morning on, it's nonstop.
Just to catch people up, because we're talking about the 16th. We're trying something new. We're kind of watching it live as this goes. And Scottie just pulled it left against the grandstand on 16. Not in a good position. The pin is tucked left.
This is dangerous to say since this will be broadcast later, but he's making 4.
Yeah, you don't want to miss left there. So yeah, that's my only complaint is it's just too much Phoenix Open by a certain point in the week. But that's
Alan, I've got a great cure for that. 54-hole shotgun start.
Yeah,
yeah, well,
limited field.
Limited field. But you mentioned the elevated status, Ryan. I mean, you're right, but it has elevated the whole thing. I mean, this leaderboard: Scheffler, Rahm, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth. He's gone backwards a little bit, but.
And how about Nick Taylor is going to win this golf tournament over all of these people? He just hit it to the. Oh God! Slow down! Oh my God! It just went off. I apologize. I thought it was.
Well, yeah, you're right.
This is the perils of broadcasting live on a very firm golf course. The ball just keeps trickling.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's going to win. But just to be clear, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I'm looking at the leaderboard: Scheffler, Rahm, JT, Jason Day, Ricky was up there for a while, and Nick Taylor of all people. I know he has 2 PGA Tour wins, but very nondescript player for the most part. And
you make a really good, Ryan, like when you were saying that it doesn't even need to be an elevated event, I was saying, oh yeah, it really doesn't need to be, except you quickly forget nobody plays unless it is an elevated event. In other words, we could have a great show, but you're not going to have these players. Not one of them. Not one of these, Ricky Fowler.
Rahm plays every year, doesn't he?
Yeah, because he's Arizona
Rahm hunts a home game. But,
although even his nerves are frayed. Like he got into kind of an altercation with the fans. Someone was shouting at him and dropped an F-bomb, and he stopped and glared for a long time yesterday. So
everybody just hit it over the green on 17. Rahm, Scheffler, and Nick Taylor.
It's such a sucker pin. You got to hit it about 167, not 175.
I mean, spoken like a true caddy right there. Mm-hmm. Look at him. Still got it.
If only you'd been on Tom Watson's bag on the 72nd hole at Turnberry. Could have kept it from going over that green, Michael.
I don't know. As you know, Alan, my close personal friend, Neil Oxman, and he really is a close personal friend, like David Sumlin III, who I have a nice friendship with. But Neil, Tom Watson's caddy, is truly a close personal friend. First off, Neil wasn't involved. Second off, the chances of we're really going down a road here, but the chances of any caddy telling Tom Watson anything, anywhere, ever is 0. 1, 2, he had a perfect shot. It just took a hard bounce.
Wow, he carried it too far. I will go to my grave. I was standing right there, and I was watching a lot of shots come in, and you just had to land it 10 yards short of where he landed it. Like you would think that the master of all links, talking about Tom Watson, not you, Michael, would know that. But anyway,
you know who completely agrees with you?
Stuart Sink.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
he carried it too far. But he doesn't say 10, he says 4. But 4, that's asking a lot on a links course to distinguish between.
Yeah. And the guy was pumped full of adrenaline. Like it's likely he's going to carry it a little too far unless he accounts for that. But without going down the Turnberry rabbit hole, which wasn't.
What'd you write that night?
I I wrote all the guys who blew it, if I recall correctly. I've told the story before, but not a long time. Everyone always forgets Lee Westwood should have won that thing. He 3-putted the 72nd hole to miss the playoff by 1 stroke, and I followed him into the locker room. And it was a cool scene. You know, the fabled locker room is not a thing like golf fans believe. You know, the guys clear out a lot. There's very little hanging out and card playing and telling tales. You know, maybe in the old days, but not anymore. But this was an exception. I don't know why. It was just there was a bunch of players in there drinking and watching the finish. And Westwood came in, and they were hooting and hollering, you know, because things were happening. And Westwood walked in and went dead silent. It was like they had actually seen a ghost. And I was behind him, so I couldn't see his face, but he just snaked through this sort of Byzantine locker room and wound up laying on this bench, hyperventilating. And no one was there. And I wasn't going to ask him any questions. I was just kind of observing. But at some point I was like, do I need to go call medical personnel? Like, it was serious. Like it tells you, like, these guys put on a brave face, but man, what's going on inside is different. I'll never forget that. But so this is now the first full field elevated event. We had Kapalua, which always just feels like a little bit like an exhibition. And even though they added some non-winners to buff out the field, this is the first time we had a lot of guys there and had like the Nick Taylors of the world. I mean, I think as Ryan has alluded to, and it's all the talk of the tour, that the elevated events next year are going to go to 70 players, no cuts, and just basically be WGCs. I think this week is a great rebuttal. I mean, you had a full field, you had a Monday qualifier, you had all kinds of long shots and dreamers. You have one guy who might actually pull it off. So
I would wonder. I mean, obviously you have to see how they build the fields, but I would guess the last couple seasons that Nick Taylor has had, he's probably not even a part of this field at 70. And so
very borderline. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, again, I just, and this has nothing to do, well, it has something to do with LIV, is that we all say it's boring because there's no cuts. The WGCs didn't make it because it's boring and no cuts. And, just, it never worked. So now we're going back to that. It boggles my mind.
Quick question, just for clarification. Is it a done deal?
No.
70 no cuts?
They have not announced it.
I think that would be a grotesque. So where is it? It's just in the stages of discussion?
Correct. There's a vicious battle happening behind the scenes amongst the middle class and the ruling class, the PGA Tour. And
well, if the ruling class were a little smarter, for one thing, they would definitely want full field with a cut because, for one thing, they're rulers today. But when they're 36, they'll be looking to get in. That's number one. And number two is you're going to kill the PGA Tour as we know it if you go all these events 70 no cut. It's not even a conversation though. And I'm not even talking about Ryan's thing about protecting Mondays, which I think is great, and he argued it beautifully in a story the other day. I'm just talking about the lifeblood of the PGA Tour for the ordinary fan to show up there anytime Thursday, Friday, and you're going to watch golf, to have two waves, to be hanging on that board Friday night to see if you make the cut or not. That's the PGA Tour. You're actually going to kill, I hate this word, your product if you do that.
Well, I mean, this tournament is the rebuttal to that, though, Michael, because what do we say? We're all jolly because of the leaderboard. Scottie Scheffler, Jon Rahm, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth. Those were the names we were excited about.
You had to make a 36-hole cut there to be there on Friday. Every one of those guys had a moment on Thursday where they were going south. Not necessarily everyone, but some of them certainly did, where they turned it around. So I don't know. I don't agree.
Scottie's about to make four, like Michael said. He's got a 15-footer.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, obviously, very biased. I want Monday qualifiers, but even if that doesn't happen, it just has to be, in my opinion, it has to be full field, 132, however you make it up, or 120 or whatever. It just cannot. It cannot be 70. It just, I just don't know how we say that LIV is a mess because there's no cut and all that kind of stuff. And then and WGC suck. And then we come back and do it. I just don't get it. Now, I do understand that the top players in the world are looking at their people who have left, Cam Smith, Brooks, Bryson, all getting paid at no cut events. So I get their point of it. They're like, hey, we have negotiating power. We're the reason all this money comes in. We want to get paid. But I think they are in a lot of ways. So That's just my take.
I'm just saying they're not entirely wrong because it's the stars that make the events memorable, the big events. I know it's an unpopular view, but I think that the casual fan is enjoying seeing these packed leaderboards with a bunch of big names. You know, you had it at Kapalua, you have it here. We'll see how Riviera plays out, but on such a strong golf course, I would expect that you'll have a bunch of top 10, top 20 players fighting it out. Like, I think the fans may not share our purest instincts, and they're enjoying the star power. So it's going to be an interesting part of the debate. I mean, I'd be curious if the PGA Tour commissions any focus groups with actual fans. Like, I would love to know. Maybe I'll put up on Twitter, and we'll just get we'll get a little bit of an insight into it. But it's a fascinating question.
Don't we have a historic that the WGCs didn't work? I mean, we already have a historic relevance. Like, I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they switch. I don't want any part of 70 no-cut fields and all these players. And it's going to be impossible to break into. And how do you move up the money list when you're missing every event? If you're 71st player, how do you move up? By winning 7 non-elevated events? I just don't get it. One
problem with the WGC comparison is that they were tournaments that had no history or tradition. And they had the
so we're just going to change the history of tournaments that have tradition.
But obviously, you know, Kapalua has that, Riviera has that, Phoenix has that. So you have more of an emotional attachment to these tournaments. When also they had the title World in it, and they wound up hanging out in Akron and Tucson and places like that. Like, they never fulfilled their mandate. They just went to boring courses.
Here it is. Like, listen, I know I'm in the minority, but we are looking at the number 1 player in the world if Scottie wins, and the 232nd player in the world, Nick Taylor, and they're going blow for blow, and it's entertaining. It's entertaining as hell. And again, I don't know how they'll make it up or whatever, but Nick Taylor would definitely, prior to this week, assume if he wins, would have been on the outside looking in at this event. I would guess. Here's Scheffler's par putt. Oh, Michael, you're wrong. He did not make 4. He made a 3. Dead center, 15 feet. Son of a biscuit.
That was outstanding.
That's an all-world 3 right there, especially with, you know, that if you miss that putt, they're going to just rain down booze on you.
Man.
That's some up and down.
And that makes Nick Taylor 6 foot.
He really didn't drop
about 12 feet.
He really didn't drop. He did not drop great. That is some up and down there. Quick question for you guys. We all know about pari-mutuel betting, but I learned this morning there's another thing called, in the world of internet betting, called custom betting. What I wanted to do was bet look at this thing. It's going 0 miles per hour when it falls in. He's waving like, oh yeah, all day long, but that ball could have been short. There's another thing on the internet called custom betting. And what I wanted to do this morning, but I didn't want to give up all the personal information you got to give up, like where you are, to some, offshore company. But anyway, what I wanted to do was bet Scheffler to win Phoenix and the Eagles, I live in Philadelphia, to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, that would have been easy.
In combination with each other. And that's called, I would have thought that's called pari-mutuel betting because you got 2 things going on, sort of, but it's actually called making a custom bet. Do you guys have any experience with this? Have you ever?
I love when Michael discovers something new about the internet that you can there's actually online betting. Who knew?
I love it. He's like, I used to just call my bookie. Is that things people don't do? I got the line out of the Philadelphia Inquirer and I called my bookie.
Yes, people make fun, crazy custom bets. And
Michael, you can do anything insane. You could do a 3-way bet with the coin flip's going to be a heads, and there's going to be a streaker on the 16th again, and the Eagles are going to win by 7. You can do whatever you want.
Right. And whether Steffi Graf and Agassi's kids will make it to a Wimbledon final.
Exactly. Lay it now. Charlie Woods, I'm sure there's odds whether he wins a Masters. Here comes Nick Taylor's putt.
By custom is you have to screenshot the bet and put it on social media so everyone can haze you or root along with you or whatever.
Yeah. But, that is a great part of this podcast when Michael is like, did you know that you could, and you're like, rent a car, and it's not even a rental car place, it's a personal car.
Yeah.
Do you know that when Alan, younger than I by a lot, first started in British Opens, you didn't get a rental car, you got to hire a car.
That's it.
But now, wow, that's a bad putt. But now when you go to the UK, even they say it's a rental car. Nobody uses the phrase hire a car anymore.
That's sad because I love all the old, like,
I know.
they did, like the UK guys, they'll say, when it's referring to a person, it's not that he's named, it's that he's called. Yeah, there's this guy called Mike who lives in Philadelphia. And just little things like that always make me smile.
Mike's gone to hospital because his pinky's broken.
Gone to hospital, yes. I learned a new one from Paul McGinley. I was just interviewing him, and we were tunneling deep on old. It was about when, this is from my book about LIV, of course, when the Strategic Alliance was born and the PGL was trying to forge an alliance with the European Tour, and then Monahan swooped in. It's actually a really fascinating part of the whole thing that nobody, I don't think, has paid attention to. McGinley was a board member for the European Tour, and he's talking about Monahan, who came in like guns blazing, and he's like, he showed us the color of his eyes. I was like, that's a good one. I'm going to keep that one, Paul.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Especially his eyes. I mean, that is one of his defining characteristics.
Yeah. But that's an Irishism for, when you're really serious about something. And I loved it. But anyway, we digress.
How about this for an Irishism? I was Michelle Smith, the Irish swimmer, won a bunch of medals at an Olympics. She got way faster at a way older age than anybody ever did. And I'm at a bar, and I'm like, how am I going to report the story? The question was whether she used performance-enhancing drugs or not. And the guy at the bar says to me, "You'll get your story, man." I said, "Why do you say that?" He said, "Oh dear, now that I've started this, I hope you're allowed to even use these terms. I imagine you can. The black lady with the yellow beard." I said, "What are you talking about?" "Get a stout, man." Anyway. I'm afraid of getting fired for the wrong thing. As I'm saying, there's really nothing wrong with that.
We'll double check it. I'm sure it's fine.
Alan, Jake, weigh in on that. Is if I'm going to get fired for telling that, could we excise it? Because I'd like to keep this job.
Of course.
Getting fired is not the issue. It's getting canceled by popular culture, and Matt.
I'm not even in popular culture, so that's not an issue.
Mass uprisings of the people. That's what you have to worry about, Michael.
Michael will learn he's been canceled in the Philadelphia Inquirer in 3 days.
Yeah, he'll be the last to know.
Yeah.
I've been what?
That's funny. So it looks like Scottie Scheffler is now, in fact, going to win this tournament. He's going to go back to number one, and quite a performance because he's such a down-to-earth, happy-go-lucky guy. Clearly great at golf, but never clear to me how hot the fire is burning inside. But I love that he came out, and obviously Jon Rahm and Rory McIlroy have been playing insane golf for the last 6 months or longer. And there's been a debate: are they which is the real number one? There's Cam Smith loyalists who put him in that conversation. No one has mentioned Scottie Scheffler in a long time. Like he started 2022 on fire and he cooled off a little bit, but him saying, "I want to be number one," and then going out and doing it, that's pretty ballsy. I'm count me in on Scottie Scheffler.
Can I just make a quick comment on Scottie Scheffler, where I really didn't know anything about him until the Masters? What really won me over was when he talked about that Sunday morning crying in his wife's arms. "I don't know if I'm ready to do this." And I mean, it was one of the most, honest to God, one of the most revealing personal quotes I've ever heard from a professional athlete anywhere. It was so unexpected from such a young guy. So I think things. He's
young in age only, Michael. He's like a 80-year-old, 20-year-old.
I know. And the amazing thing is, if you look at like college pictures, he looks like he was 80 back then. I mean, it's just he's timeless in a certain way. He's like he was born old, and he's always going to be old. But
this is a random Monday Q fact. Okay,
that's why you're on this podcast, Ryan. Go ahead.
Yeah, fair enough. The Utah Open in Utah is a Korn Ferry event, and the Monday qualifier is played on a very wide open, not short, but because it's at elevation short, 5 par fives, and they take 12 players, and it's often 63 and better. There's usually like a 60 all the way down to a 63. 2 players tied in the 2018 Monday qualifier for T18, missing by 2 strokes after shooting both bogey-free 66s. 1, Will Zalatoris. 2, Scottie Scheffler. T18, Korn Ferry Monday, shot 66, didn't get through. Now both top 5 players in the world. I mean, I don't know what Will is, but he would be if he wasn't injured.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I really became a Scheffler fan at the Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits. I mean, he just played incredible. And if you remember, John Rahm was just a machine. Like he was stealing souls out there. Nobody wanted to play him on Sunday, and Scheffler beat him soundly. And that was a big time moment. And all week long, he was hitting great shots and just seemed to thrive in that environment. And there's a long history of players having that bounce from the Ryder Cup, going all the way back to Fred Couples, whomever. But Scheffler went to a different level that week, and he's just never stopped getting better.
Here's my serious take on this, as we talk often about how LIV has taken all of the villains, and where I don't know if we miss them, but how great would it be right now if it was, instead of Nick Taylor, no offense to Nick Taylor, good for him, he's having an amazing tournament. How great would it be for the golf world if it was Patrick Reed and Scottie Scheffler going, shot for shot right now, one of the most, or probably the most hated professional golfer in the world, against a guy who's, super nice and well liked and all of those things. Like, that is where LIV has too many villains, so it doesn't work because they don't have any good guys. And the PGA Tour has lost all their villains. You know what I mean?
You know where you might have that, Ryan? During the dessert course Tuesday night in Augusta.
It's true.
Yeah. No, you're right.
But seriously, it would be great if it was like we miss the villains. Like, we might not miss them, but like right here would be so awesome if it was Scottie and Patrick going head for head.
I guarantee you that before Keith Pelley closes his eyes every night, he's saying a little prayer to the golf gods, begging for the European Tour to lose the court case that was just heard in the UK. That if the European Tour loses, the LIV guys will get to play in Europe pretty much as they want. And that would be a tremendous turn of events for the European Tour, which has just been bleeding stars for 2 decades and can't keep its homegrown talent. And all of a sudden that would become a regular occurrence because, there'll just be more mixing. Otherwise, it's just going to be the majors, which will add, of course, as we've discussed, a lot of friction to the majors. But, Augusta, you have to be sort of on your best behavior, and you get to the PGA and the US Open, and the stakes are so high, the courses are so challenging. Like, that stuff's going to take a backseat a little bit. No one's going to want to get sucked into that stuff when there's a major championship on the line. But a weekly tour event, either in Europe and the PGA Tour, that would be epic. So I agree with your.
But Alan, as others have suggested, how about instead of a President's Cup, a LIV versus PGA Tour Cup?
I asked a couple of guys about that actually earlier this week, and on the PGA Tour players, and they basically dismissed it, saying that the LIV guys would have all the motivation. It's kind of like it's like Golden State Warriors versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Like, the Warriors don't consider it a rivalry because the other team's not in their league, and they're irritated that people even consider that to be a thing. And I think the tour guys feel that way as well. Like, they have everything to lose and nothing to gain. The LIV dudes would be, fighting for their life out there, and which of course is why we should have it, because the energy would be spectacular. But even if you go all the way up to the Ponte Vedra Beach level, I don't think the tour wants to associate in any way, shape, or form. But it is fun to talk about, and it's fun to.
It would require such a massive sense of humor on the PGA Tour's part to even entertain the idea. And we know that funny is not really their thing. What's the level of shock about Tiger Eldrick Woods playing next week at the Riviera tournament?
Shock. True shock.
Yeah. I mean, it's his tournament. He's the host. He's doing a solid to the sponsors. It's where he played his first event when he was 16. If there's any regular tour event he was going to try and soldier through, it's definitely going to be that one. So,
is he going to take a sled down the first hole? Like, I mean, how is he going to manage that hill? That place, I caddied. So last year, Mark Baldwin got paid to play in the Pro-Am. Hi, Caddy. That place sucks. I mean, that walk up 18 will kill you, dude.
Well, yeah, that's a big hill, but once you get to the first fairway, from the first fairway to the 18th fairway, it's not that bad. It's a relatively flat piece of land. I mean, it's very flat, honestly. But yeah, that finish is no joke.
That is true. That's a really good point, Alan. Once you get down there, it's really a valley until about 18.
No, when you talk about the great flat golf courses in the world, Riviera's in that conversation. So
that's really, I never thought. Yeah. In my mind, I think it's hilly, but it really isn't.
No.
Augusta National is hilly. That place.
It's got
but also it's going to be dry. I think had it been wet, I don't think if you're coming off the course as you often are at Riviera, Los Angeles, winter weather being so unpredictable, I don't think he would have played. But when the weather showed, it was straight week of sunshine, and if you're going to tee it up, you're going to finish the round. I think that made it much more palatable. I'm totally guessing, but just knowing.
Does Tiger Woods make the cut? Alan Shipnuck.
Oh, they have a cut.
I'm going to say no, but excuse me. I mean, like everyone this time of year, every professional golfer of a certain stature is gearing towards Augusta. Like you hit Florida, which is the week after LA, and it's all about the run up to the Masters. And so I think for Tiger, the end of his season last summer was such a dud. He's trying to figure out where he is, and the Hero World Challenge, is not it. Like he's got to be forced to walk, tough conditions, really challenging golf course. And
oh my God, Michael, watch this lip out. I'm ahead of the thing.
That's harsh. What makes the cut there? 140 ish.
Yeah, let's look last year. A total.
By the
score.
way, when I say lip out, Nick Taylor, did a full 360.
That was a full 360.
It was brutal.
Even par 142 made the cut last year at Riviera, but 19 under won it. Incredible.
If there was a way to make a prop bet on whether Tiger Woods was going to make that, I'm going to bet he makes the cut. Because for one thing, he grinds out the last 4 holes on Friday better than probably anybody who's ever played. If the cut's on the line, he's done it numerous times.
Well, that's the old Tiger. I mean, no one's ever going to question his grit, but what will his body let him do with a fused spine and one leg? Like, it's not a question of his desire, but can he actually make his body move the way he wants to when it really matters? Like, that's an open question. And, if he has like a late early draw and he's got to get up at 2 a.m. to get ready for his second round and the wind's whipping, like, it's just, I don't know. It's a big ask. It's fun to even talk about because it's Tiger Woods, but, Alan,
he's going to get a late draw. He's going to be the one guy in the field with a late draw. Just a quick side note as we're watching this. This is the LIV effect in a very weird way. Ricky Fowler showed up in a Cobra ad, and Tiger Woods, his own self, showed up in a TaylorMade ad. And that's the LIV effect because there's nobody around who can sell golf clubs except for those two.
The side note to Scottie Scheffler, who's going to win now? He's ahead by 3 heading to the 18th, but Ted Scott has done well for himself.
Wow. Has he ever?
He really has.
Did very well with Bubba, and and they separated, and he picked up a pretty decent bag. He has done very well for himself.
Starting by the fact he survived Bubba.
Yeah, well said.
He went from I never thought about that side of it. He went from like one of the probably the hardest on caddies to like Scottie Scheffler, who wouldn't probably doesn't say a sideways word to him the whole time.
Yeah, I mean it in this era of inflated purses, I know for a fact that some players are no longer paying 10% for a win, but even if you're making 7% of 2.7, that's
3.6.
2.6, yeah, that's a heck of a week,
isn't it?
I think doesn't the winner get 2.7?
I think it's 3.6, but I could be wrong.
What on 20 million?
Yeah, you're right, Ryan. 3.6 million to the winner. That's
a good day. That's a good day for Ted Scott. That's a good day for Scottie. Oh, yeah. And John just hit it right in the middle of the drink. I think. Nope, in the bunker. Oh, he skips it out of the bunker into the fairway.
Oh man, That's going to go in the water?
No.
No. I thought you said it was in the drink.
I thought so.
I missed something.
Don't rely on Ryan for your play-by-play.
It's terrible.
John Rahm standing more upright to the ball than he used to be?
I don't know.
Possibly a fraction, but
okay.
He's
tall. Can he stand upright? He's a short fella.
He's thick though, man, with two C's.
John Rahm speaks English better than certainly anybody on this podcast, but really probably in the top 0.01% of anybody in golf.
He's a great interview.
I just love listening to the guy. He must be very bright.
Yeah, he's so thoughtful.
He's so precise.
And
with his language.
Do you know how he learned English, Michael? You may not know that.
I don't.
No, I don't. When he came to Arizona State from Spain, he didn't speak in English. He just listened to hip hop lyrics. That was how he learned.
I love that.
Like he can freestyle Kendrick Lamar for days. It's impressive.
Wow.
But
that's neat. He should have come with us to the movies that night in Milwaukee.
That's right.
Still waiting on that story.
Yeah, Ryan's still waiting.
Just went to the movies. Ryan, when you finally hear the story, there is a story. We went to the movies. We've done that a lot. We'd go bowling if we could find a bowling alley. I mean, whatever.
Well, what else do we need to discuss before we release the listeners? This could be a one of the rare brisk fire drills. Yeah,
this could be a record short fire drill. Andy Ogletree. We can discuss Andy Ogletree. I tweeted about him today.
He's playing great.
That dude, good golfer.
Lost as lost can be. I meant to look back, but I think that first LIV event, he finished last by, I think, at least 7 strokes. I'm pretty sure.
A lot, yes.
I mean, I think he fired 84, and I don't think there was any.
He was hurt. In his defense, he went over there hurt.
I agree. I know, but
exactly.
I totally agree. But that event probably saved his career because it gave him some money, and wins on the Asian Tour last year, and then has played great. Another top 10 this week, 2 back-to-back top 10s, and the PGA Tour can't do anything about it. He's coming to the PGA Tour. He's going to get through Q school, and they're going to hate everything about it, unless they try to hold up some ban for anybody that played over there.
Right. Well, in his case, he wasn't a tour member when he went over there. That's where he's different from a lot of these other guys, and the tour is on a little bit of shaky footing, and they know it. So they're gonna stand aside and let him resume his career because they have no chance of winning that lawsuit. But yeah, Andy, it's funny the players who have emerged as focal points in this new world order, the Andy Ogletrees, the Taylor Gooches, players who we didn't give a lot of thought to, but because they were in the right or the wrong place at the right or the wrong time, they take on this deeper meaning. It's they're both gonna factor in this LIV book I'm writing because their stories are very interesting.
Well, we have to watch Scottie hit his second shot, so we have to come up with something, because if he does something crazy like put it in the stands and we're not here, we've done this show to we're gonna kind of do it live, have reactions, and what if Scottie shanks it into the water or something, and we're not here to react to it?
Is there any? Who do we know from who's on-site player, caddy, or otherwise at this Phoenix Open that's actually going to the Super Bowl tonight? Has that been discussed at all this week?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would assume a lot of guys.
A lot of guys are going, from what I heard. I don't have a list, but the last time the Super Bowl was in Phoenix during the week of the tournament, I did both myself, and it actually wasn't that bad. I mean, some guys were trying to organize helicopters and stuff. It was a pretty easy drive because I think people get to the Super Bowl so early to tailgate and soak it all in. I just roared up, and Keegan Bradley and a couple other guys, I think Webb Simpson, they told me where they're sitting. I was trying to find them in the crowd, but it was a challenge. But it's definitely a thing. I'll be curious if the cameras find them at all. That'll be interesting. I can't remember what it was. I was I think it was Monday Night Football. Weren't Tiger and Jordan Spieth in a luxury suite, and the camera panned and they didn't recognize Spieth? He was just sitting there without a hat on and went completely unremarked upon. Am I remembering that correctly? This was years ago. That. This was early Spieth, but it was so funny.
Wow. I just looked it up. I was wondering when was the last time I went to Phoenix. Who would make a guess? What was Johnny Miller's last broadcast was Phoenix. He played a lot of good golf in Phoenix. And would anyone care to guess what was the year that Johnny Miller did his last TV broadcast?
Ooh, 2000. 17.
I was going to say 16.
19. It was only a few years ago.
Wow. Feels like he's been gone forever.
A shout out.
That's my point.
A shout out to, I just got a DM from one of the families that got to go. Tom Hoagie and Hayden Buckley both gave tickets to me to give away to the Boys and Girls Club. And I found the Boys and Girls Club, and I found another family that wanted to go, and the foundation paid for parking and everything, and just got a nice long message from the young girl and her family that went, and how much it meant to them. Those two guys didn't know Tom was a follower or whatever, but I had put out something about Hayden giving me tickets, and he sent me a message and said, "Hey, I have 10 tickets left. You want to give them away?" So
that's killer.
Super nice dudes.
That's great.
They made somebody's week or month or whatever.
But as Scheffler plays this, that's terrific, Ryan. Ryan, what is your insight into Aaron Rodgers' situation at Pebble? You know his game.
The darkness is actually Ryan's basement. He's going into Ryan's basement.
Yeah, that's the darkness. He's coming out to Hubbard Lake, Michigan to get away. I refuse to disparage. I'm glad that they won at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Seemed to be he had a good week. Shot a little less than his handicap, and good for him.
A lot less.
Stop it.
Now, in fairness, they assign the handicaps. You don't choose your own handicap. I've never known anyone anywhere who ever said, upon getting too many shots, "Yeah, you're giving me too many shots."
That's a factual statement. And
I actually thought that on the UTI. At the UTI, on the third day, we had a 7-stroke lead, and because of the chipping yips, my handicap is legitimate, but also in a best ball situation, ideal. If you can ham and egg it, and that I was going to say something, then no, this is right, it's accurate, and luckily I didn't say anything because we blew a 7-shot lead in the final day.
Right, well, and also a place like Bandon, you can putt from off the green so easily that it sort of negates your weakness, right? Because you hit the ball like a scratch golfer.
It's over. This is the shortest fire drill ever. 42 minutes. What are you talking about? This is. I feel like.
Well, we could talk about Bryson DeChambeau leaving Cobra, which is.
And then Cobra just ripping him apart as he left.
Like, that was years of pent up frustration.
Oh my God! They just hammered the poor guy.
It's gonna.
I don't mean that's.
What did Cobra say?
Like you're a monster and don't let the door hit you on the way out. I'm paraphrasing, but that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I think the exact quote, and I could be wrong. So I think it was something like, "The guy doesn't live in a reality of like where he wants distance and control when he doesn't hit it on the center of the face, basically." And they're like, and the article went on to say it's like, I mean, Cobra went all in. They had a whole research team just for Bryson, and I mean, the guy he's tough human to deal with from all I've heard. So,
what's he going to do? What kind of clubs is he going to play in the meantime?
He's got TaylorMade. But
I mean, I was going to tweet this out, but I just didn't want to deal with it all. Like Bryson DeChambeau, I mean, it wasn't long ago. He was one of the best players in the world. He is gone, like gone. Like he missed the cut by 7 at the Asian Tour event. And we're not talking like a real deep field there, Like this guy he can't do it. Like it's astonishing.
Yeah, I mean, it happens when players have physical injuries and they compensate in their swing, and then they kind of they lose their swing. I mean, whether it's David Duval or whomever, I mean, it's not unheard of. But throw in the change in his body and changing from the tour to LIV. There's been a lot of tumult in the guy's life. Most of it, of course, self-induced, but it's fascinating. I mean, he's a young guy, and he was on very much of a Hall of Fame trajectory. You win the NCAA championship, the U.S. Amateur, the U.S. Open at Winged Foot. I mean, you're 2/3 of the way there at that point, and we'll see what happens.
He had the respect of Tiger Woods. Tiger, I mean, I almost can't believe that I'm saying it, but I saw it with my own eyes. Tiger actually standing there listening to Bryson I saw it at Memorial. I saw it at Riviera. And
They played a lot of practice rounds together.
Yeah.
All right. I want to watch the Super Bowl.
All right, Jensen.
I have to do this. Michael, can you quickly tell us about the piece of art hanging above your head?
The art. You're nice to notice. The artist is a man named Hilame Jose. Christine and I went to Haiti on our honeymoon. We fell in love with Haitian art, and we probably have 20 or more pieces
What year
by this.
Did you go to Haiti?
Very
What
talented.
year did you get married?
What year did we go there? We went there after Papa Doc was out of office. Well, I should know this because I know what year we got married. I covered the Phillies in 1990.
Wait,
90.
did you just
We
say you
went through
covered the
90.
Phillies, and that's how you remember when you got married?
Wow.
Was what beat you were on?
Yeah.
We don't want to. We don't want to.
Okay, Jake.
Yeah,
let's make that.
Just don't play this at home.
Alan,
Let's make that the
is there
social.
something wrong with that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What beat he was on was why how we knew.
You can think that, Michael. You can't say that out loud. That's.
Yeah.
I mean, that's dangerous.
Okay.
I love it. That's a great way to end this podcast. It's everything I love about this podcast.
All praise to Christine Bamberger. She's just unflappable.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, go Eagles. And thanks to the listeners out there for sticking with us. This has been another Fire Drill podcast. That was Ryan French. I'm Alan Shipnuck. Michael Bamberger is now in detention at home, but we'll do this again next Sunday, as we do every Sunday. For now, let's go watch some football.